welcome to a very special event here at the Grand Lounge and Bar in our beautiful Wyndham Costa Resort. We are joined today on stage by two special guests, Sarah C. and Scotty Darroch. And before we introduce them to you, we would like to quickly tell you about Kind Holidays. Kind Holidays was created to bring rays of sunshine into the lives of those who are navigating through some of life's toughest storms. By offering complimentary holiday accommodation at our Wyndham resorts in Europe and our idyllic resorts in Florida, our aim is to instill joy and create lasting memories for families facing some immense challenges. For many, going on holiday is a routine pleasure, but for some, it's a luxury they can only dream of. Just imagine caring for a loved one with a terminal illness or severe disability, grieving the loss of a child, serving as an unpaid carer, or being in the armed forces grappling with readjustment post-deployment. The opportunity to spend time away to relax and rejuvenate can be a much-needed boost and provide the essential respite they deeply need. We have seen firsthand how our holidays can ignite joy, foster connections, and create cherished memories that are truly priceless. Sometimes these trips serve as a family's last holiday together, imbuing every moment with profound significance and heartfelt emotion.
We will now show you a video. Por favor, vean este emocionante video.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, but more importantly, I'd like to thank all of you for helping give families that are going through unimaginable emotional and physical trauma a chance for some respite, a chance to get away from hospital visits and challenges that these most brave of families have to face on a daily basis. The following video is about our Kind Holidays initiative. It is an idea that has grown out of the generosity of our founder, Roy, and his initial relationship with Give Us Time. Roy was the first hotelier to give time at our resorts to a new charity in 2012, set up by Sir Dr. Liam Fox MP, a former army medic that went on to become the UK's Defence Minister. The idea was to give military personnel, many of them serving abroad for long periods of time, a chance to reconnect with their families and create some special memories. It also allowed soldiers suffering from physical injuries and PTSD a chance to get away and find some peace of mind. In 2016, I was lucky enough to be asked by Roy to find other charities, primarily ones involved with sick or terminally ill children, that could also donate space to. Since then, I've had the best job in the world, playing Santa Claus or Papa Noel to over a dozen charities. I once again want to thank you because none of this would have been possible without the care and love of all of you. You're about to meet Scotty, a soldier that shared a very important holiday with his wife here at Wyndham Costa del Sol, and Sarah, who visited with her two sons in 2019. The following video features Sarah, Rico, and Phoenix. What the video doesn't show is all the organising that went on behind the scenes by all of you. From Claire Simmons and Jane Richards with the pre-travel coordinating, to the member of concierge that got up before sunrise on his own time to help push Phoenix in his wheelchair onto the beach in order for Sarah and her boys to watch the sunrise together.
Hello. I just wanted a little bit of your time to tell you about a brilliant idea from Idyllic Hotels and Resorts. It's already earned some pretty high-profile support, including from HRH, the Princess Royal. It's a charity initiative based on using empty hotel rooms for the benefit of some very special families to give them a little bit of respite. We're hoping that other hotels might join in and open their doors and offer a bit of free accommodation. I can tell you that it's meant a huge amount to the Idyllic team already. The project has brought them a sense of pride, a sense of purpose that has gone right through the hotel receptionist up to its founder. So, holidaymakers, what I'm asking you to do is please, would you forward this video to your favourite hotels? And it kicks off with what the Princess Royal wrote in support.
As president of Carers Trust, I've seen the significant improvement to both the physical and psychological well-being of carers after a respite break. I hope that hoteliers could donate space to allow a respite break for families with children with terminal illnesses and severe disabilities, bereaved families where a young parent, child or sibling has recently passed, military families where PTSD can be successfully treated by a change of scenery, and, of course, unpaid carers who are often caring for a loved one and sacrifice their own financial well-being to do so. Please consider giving families the opportunity to have a respite break and contact charities in your region.
After serving as the United Kingdom's Secretary of State for Defence, I founded Give Us Time in 2012 with a mission to give military families precious time together. Idyllic charity Holidays were one of the first to provide free accommodation at the resorts, and in 2016 they expanded the offer to families with children with terminal illnesses, bereaved families and unpaid carers.
These holidays are more than just allowing a family some time to be together. For some beneficiaries, they have actually been a lifeline, and I know that some people who have made use of this scheme have credited it with saving their life, from getting them to step back from the edge and the suicidal thoughts that they were having. They are literally life-changing for those military heroes and their families.
Kind Holidays was created to give the most challenged of families free holiday accommodation at their hotels and resorts, giving these families, many of whom include a sick or terminally ill child, the chance to create their most cherished of memories. For many, it will be the last opportunity to enjoy truly happy times before their loved one passes on.
The only time we really pack a suitcase is when we're going into hospital.
Well, we're a family again, and we get now to spend time as a family doing something we didn't think we'd be able to do, ever. And it's just seeing a smile on these two faces, that's what does it for me.
And then when they are poorly and they're very ill, they have to have 2 weeks stay in hospital on IVs. So obviously getting that time off work if they're ill a few times a year, you can't work. So I've tried going back to work, but it's too many days off work, so I can't. They're allowed to have a break and just enjoy a bit of family life. Obviously in being abroad, that they can enjoy the sun and the sea and the sand and without having to worry about treatment.
Phoenix, very sadly, has a rather more serious condition called infantile neuroaxonal dystrophy. So he's lost all of his skills.
The short time that Sarah and Rico had with Phoenix was precious, and some of their happiest moments were spent at an idyllic resort. Sarah and Rico are returning to Spain in June, when they plan to scatter Phoenix's ashes in the sea just meters from the beach in front of the resort. The place where they created their most cherished memories, watching the sunrise together. Helping these incredibly grateful and courageous families has had the most rewarding and profound effect on the entire idyllic team. Very few hotels operate year-round at 100% occupancy. Hoteliers, for the cost of cleaning a room or suite, you too can give the most deserving of families a chance to make their everlasting memories.
It is with great pleasure we now welcome and introduce you to our first guest speaker, Scotty Darroch. Scotty spent under 10 years in the British Army in Northern Ireland with tours in Bosnia and Kosovo before finishing in his commission in 2004. After Scotty left the army, the trauma of everything he had seen and heard began to impact and disrupt his life. Scotty and his wife Joanne spent some very special time with us here in Wyndham, Costa back in 2015, and they have returned this week for another holiday break on our Sunshine Coast.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Scotty Darroch. Señoras y señores, una calurosa bienvenida para Scotty Darroch.
Hola. My wife Joanne, Harry, Kim and Sarah are delighted to be here staying at this wonderful Wyndham Costa del Sol resort. So why am I standing here in front of you all today? 9 years ago I bared my soul and spoke of my illness for the first time at an event organised by a small military charity, Give Us Time. For those who have not heard my story, I'll give you a breakdown of events that's led me to this stage. I decided to join the British Army in 1995. This was the only decision I had to help save my life after the pain and suffering I went through in my childhood years. At 4-year-old, I was sent to a child lockdown facility for weekends to give my parents a break. I was 1 minute away from being a statistic of the Lockerbie plane disaster in 1988, age 12, and when I was 14, I was sexually molested by a so-called family friend. So I decided to rebel against the system, getting involved in trouble and ending up within the criminal justice system. So I joined the Royal Logistic Corps as a driver in 1995, and after my initial basic training, I was posted to 8 Regiment in Catterick. And after spending over a year of hard training, I was soon trained up for my first deployment to Northern Ireland. But no training and experience could have prepared a young 20-year-old lad for what I was about to witness on the streets of the United Kingdom. I witnessed the worst that humanity could do to each other. I was so scared, and I was now scarred for life, something which has had a devastating impact on my life. Not knowing at the time that being involved in witnessing violent, horrific atrocities and fighting for our own lives would affect and give me a mental trauma, I only wish I had the courage and moral fibre to speak out. I'm sure my life and others' lives would certainly be a lot different today. As for back then, there was no one to give you a hand up. It was just man up and get on with it. And that meant get to the bar and let your hair down. And as you can see, I certainly did that. But this was a recipe of a long path of destruction, as dealing with the realities of conflict soon took their toll on me. I began drinking heavily, which led to getting into a lot of altercations, and I soon enjoyed the pain that violence provided, as to punish myself felt like the right thing to do. I have had over 30 recorded concussions as I put my head in places you never want to, resulting in numerous brain injuries. All these altercations also led me to regular visits to the military and civilian jails. The times were hard and the knockdowns were always constant, but nothing I was doing was taking the pain, the night horrors and the images away. I was tired all the time, and I was finding it very difficult to focus on my job, as now I was a training instructor in Germany. Trying to portray the constant professional soldier to the rest of the regiment was very difficult. At this time, alongside drinking 1.5 litres of spirits and some beers nearly every day, I started taking a lot of cocaine so I could function at the level where no one knew what was going on. I was now putting on a mask to hide my secret torment. It all came to a head when I couldn't take the pain of conflict anymore, and I ended up in the back streets of Gütersloh, sitting amongst rubbish and waste, with my shoes off, my trouser legs rolled up, injecting heroin into my feet. I still recall the dirty needle ripping my skin and releasing the warm orangery brown hell into my veins. This was because I couldn't deal with what was going on in my brain. I was now addicted, and this was time I needed help. And being a soldier, this was the hardest decision I've ever had to make. This was definitely not what I had envisaged when I wanted to serve my country. Looking back, I still think asking for help then was an act of extreme kindness to myself. And you're never probably the strongest you can ever be when you dare to show your weaknesses. So I thought. I was sent to the military hospital in Wegberg in Germany, and I was just assessed to be a little messed up with chronic burnout. I was sent back to my unit to take a cocktail of medication and try to integrate back into normal duties, but still not talking about anything, as guys didn't ever talk about that stuff. This went on for a few more years, and after tours of Bosnia, Kosovo, and more tours of Northern Ireland, I was discharged from the armed forces in November 2004. Since then, there has been setbacks with periods of self-harm to myself and multiple attempts to take my own life, again trying to make these bloody damn thoughts and images disappear. It took another 9 years, and in 2013, I finally got the diagnosis of PTSD, post-traumatic stress, and due to the years of neglect and hardship on my body, major depressive disorder. Now knowing that this was an illness causing these thoughts and actions, there was still a better life to live and to become a better husband Joanne can be proud of. We first heard of Give Us Time by a friend in 2015 and said, Scotty, put your details on the web and see how you get on. We then got a lovely email confirming that Joanne and I can apply for a holiday, but this was a huge humbling experience for me, having the general public and businesses giving up their holidays, timeshares and properties to help our military families in need of rest and rehabilitation was extremely overwhelming. This was also the time that I bared my soul, as I mentioned, to the packed audience at an event fundraiser for Give Us Time. Give Us Time was our hand up. We applied and was accepted to the Wyndham Costa del Sol resort on the outskirts of Malaga. The apartment was just beautiful with fantastic views of the Mediterranean. We now had plenty of time to worry about the type of budgie smugglers to wear or what factor sunscreen to put on a white Scotsman. This was amusing and made us laugh. And this break was donated by Roy and Grant Perez. Give Us Time give Joanne and I the ability to adapt to a new normal, a life of compromises and plans to act as a safety net if we fell backwards, all in a relaxed, peaceful and scenic place. This also allowed us the chance to reconnect with our loved ones and to look forward on our new future on our road to recovery. This time was just a ticket to focus on what I used to do, and that was sport. Kind Holidays gave me the energy and courage to try out for the UK Invictus Games team again, and was successfully representing my country in 2016 in Orlando, doing multiple sporting disciplines, and again selected in 2017 in Toronto, becoming the powerlifting team captain. I believe asking for help was the most courageous thing I have ever done. Asking for help wasn't giving up, it was refusing to give up. This time afforded Joanne and I more time to plan and engage with one of the UK's leading trauma psychiatrists, Professor Paul Miller, from 2018, and received a new diagnosis of complex PTSD. I'm now medically retired with my illness, and we have finally got some structure and a long-term treatment and medication plan. And this has given me more time to help and support the charity that has been a lifeline for us both. And hopefully I can reach out to more of the armed forces community than I did when I was a serving soldier. I've re-engaged with my love for being in the mountains, and this has provided me with an inner peace. I've achieved some good hikes, especially like the recent expedition last July, climbing to the summit of Mount Herod, over 4,000 metres high, part of the Rocky Mountains of North America, with 9 other injured servicemen and women from all around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I would strongly encourage other hoteliers and resort owners to please open your hearts and doors to this initiative. It will greatly help your beneficiaries, but will also give your teams a real boost in terms of job satisfaction. If I could just finish by thanking all the team, you guys, for allowing Harry, Kim, Joanne, Sarah and I the chance to forget about the worries and stresses for a while. You guys are the unsung heroes of the resort. You make everything work so seamlessly. So I thank you wholeheartedly for allowing us time. We are giving 3 gives in our life. The first give is to never give in. The second give is to never give up. And the third give is to give all you've got to help all those around you. And I wouldn't be standing here today without the love and support of Joanne. Gracias.
Thank you, Scotty, for that wonderful presentation. As you have just seen in the video earlier, our next guest, Sarah, and her 2 boys, Rico and Phoenix, spent some very special time with us here in 2019, helping Sarah and Rico to make some of their most precious memories with Phoenix.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sarah C. Señoras y señores, os ruego una calurosa bienvenida a Sarah C.
I've got to remember to put my glasses on. Sorry, I'm ad-libbing. And also, I need to lighten the mood. So how about we switch it up, and I'll do the Spanish and you do the English. Yeah, and we throw the cards up in the air and see where it lands again.
Sara está proponiendo que cambiemos y ella hace la parte en español y yo hago la parte en inglés.
No. Stick to the script. Okay. So, hola, buenos días. Y buenos tardes, ¿no? so lovely to be here with you all and to share this time together. I really hope that just a little piece of anything you have seen or heard, no matter how big or small, will touch your heart and light you in a way that will help you to touch another family, in the way that you have touched mine and Scotty's and all the other families that have passed through. The memories we made here together, Phoenix, Rico and I, and the way that we were greeted and held by those of you we were so blessed to meet will stay in our hearts forever. So I'm a mother first and a lady who has experienced much heartache and trauma second. Actually nothing compared to you, Scotty. But that's for another place and time. Rico, my eldest, was diagnosed with a condition of the blood just 8 months before his brother was diagnosed with the devastating condition called INAD. Despite these things, I am forever hopeful. I've always been quite spontaneous and free-spirited in life, and it remained like that once I became a mother too. However, once the reality of our situation with the children's diagnosis set in and the isolation of having no one to turn to, I felt trapped. Everything from the point of Phoenix's diagnosis became about surviving the day in the best way for Phoenix, trying to stay hopeful for Rico and trying not to lose myself in a system I had no training or preparation for. So Phoenix took his first footsteps in the sand when he was 7 months old. I didn't know at the time that they would be his first and only footsteps that he would ever take in the sand. We were on a beach back in the UK that I had spent many happy times out with his brother before Phoenix was born. It was just the three of us. It was always just the three of us, muddling through. I was at that time trying to be mum, dad, provider and homemaker. I had no idea that I was soon going to need to be some sort of medical terminology expert, best carer, administrator, manager, researcher of equipment and suppliers, all while trying to stay mentally well. Many changes happened all at once, and the word minefield is an understatement because of Phoenix's diagnosis and the fact I was a single parent with no support. He became a child in need under social services meant to be a safety net. Some of the services in the UK that are designed to support families actually just added stress and disorganisation to our life. We had no consistency or control over many things until we closed our doors at the end of the day, and then the reality that it was all on me hit hard. I honestly don't know how I got through. Many of those days and nights and still found the energy and passion for life. Thank you. I often felt helpless and alone, and most of the time I was. As Rico grew, he became more than Phoenix's brother. He became my rock and second in command, caring for Phoenix, checking his position, that he was breathing, noticing subtle changes, reading to him, cuddling him and entertaining him so I could get his medication ready, make phone calls, change oxygen or reply to emails from the many consultants and services now involved, among many other daily tasks. This was our life for 10 years, one obstacle after another. We couldn't travel even out of the house with ease. I don't want to liken our life to that of a battlefield, but it is fair to say that the trauma of the diagnosis, on top of many traumas from my past, coupled with the reality, desperation and helplessness I felt towards our daily challenges, and my children's lives felt like one. I had to give up working and chasing a career. There was no time to think about anything other than appointments, hospitals, clinics, equipment, specialists, medical terms, adaptations to our home, and trying to find help so we could afford to put the basics in place that Phoenix now needed as he declined. It was a minefield of one stress after another, and it didn't let up year after year. I don't have a family that stuck together in times of hardship. It has never been like that for us. It was actually quite the opposite. It has always just been the three of us. I just wanted to focus on trying to be the best mum and dad to my two boys. but instead I had to juggle that with becoming an expert in everything to do with their conditions, a full-time carer and a physical therapist to Phoenix.
Tuve que darse el equipamiento, los especialistas, términos médicos, las modificaciones en nuestro hogar y tratar de encontrar ayuda para que pudiéramos simplemente poner a funcionar lo básico que Phoenix necesitaba mientras él seguía empeorando. Era un campo de minas con una situación estresante tras otra y no paraba año tras año. No he tenido una familia que se mantuviera unida en tiempos difíciles. Nunca ha sido nuestro caso. En realidad fue todo lo contrario. Siempre hemos sido solo nosotros tres.
We came up against many battles to provide what he actually needed versus what was being dictated to us, and most of it came at a huge financial cost. I got into debt and at one point couldn't afford to feed myself, yet still I had to carry on fighting and finding ways through. Amongst all of this, we met some amazing people who gave us the consistency and continuity of time and knowledge that it was enough for me to keep fighting. I did such a good job of conversing and questioning everything that I got asked to speak at 2 events for charity. One of which is where I didn't know at the time but was blessed enough to meet Grant Perez. The whole reason I am here before you now, sharing some of myself in the hope that I can get across how important all of you are to someone like me and a family like mine. I came off of the stage after speaking about the realities of equipment costs, demands and how many families need help to get essential items quickly. There was some humour because I talked far too much and upstaged my stage buddy. After my speech I was asked to speak with Grant as he wanted to talk about a holiday for the boys and I. I can honestly say I'm glad he's not here, and yes, I know he'll see it eventually, but I never told him that the first thought in my head was no, 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 no and definitely no. Thankfully, trying to explain my negativity and being overwhelmed at such a beautiful idea, essentially a gift, I felt like it was even more of a challenge finding excitement and enthusiasm towards something I thought we would never be able to do again. So I said yes and wow, and that would be amazing, or something like that. So full of anticipation and fear, I then had to be persuaded to contact those in reservations and then sat next to make sure I actually contacted her. To cut a long story short, that conversation with Grant and those subsequent communications that followed set off a chain of events that both excited me and scared me in equal measures. Even if the task of going on holiday had felt possible to me, we could never have afforded it on our budget. Especially not during school holidays when the weather was at its best for Phoenix's lack of movement and Rico's skin. I remember saying many times, I can't do it, it won't work, I'm not up to it, crying and feeling useless, and then picking myself up and finally listening to the voice that said, be strong, this is for your family. This is beautiful, it's a gift from God. I started to focus on all the practicalities rather than the overwhelming responsibilities, and then I started conversing with Jane in your travel department. Throughout the whole process, the practicalities of just getting to the airport, let alone Spain, seemed like a huge mountain. There were so many things to consider. I'm not sure if any of you have ever tried to get insurance for anyone with a rare or serious medical condition, but it's ridiculous, and each phone call to each different company takes up so much precious time. But Jane asked me questions which helped me to focus. I started walking through the process, and there were so many times I wanted to give up, but Jane kept picking me up every time I fell down. She had an idea for everything, and so much patience and encouragement. I remember it got to just a few days before we were due to fly, and I looked at my bank balance and I said to Rico, we can't do this. I hadn't even thought about the fact we would need spending money. All of my time had been spent trying to think of all the things that could go wrong so that I could make sure I had them covered. Jane wouldn't let me give up. She had an idea for that too, and I cannot and could never thank you enough for not giving up on us. I spent 3 days and all night before we travelled the next day packing and bubble wrapping just Phoenix's kit. There was so much. I had no time to think about me. In between caring for him and making sure everybody was notified and that his supplies were in every single suitcase in the event one went missing, and bubble wrapping every part of his chair and shower table and monitors and the like. I was totally unprepared for myself. I think I packed a bikini and flip-flops. The few other things I had were useless for the warm weather and amazing climate we were about to travel to. One of the biggest fears I had was if anything happened to Felix's pram/wheelchair once we transferred him onto the plane and they put it in the hold. If it got bent or damaged on the plane, we would have no way of getting off the plane unless I carried him everywhere. At that point, he was just under 40 kg. Lifting a human being who cannot help you at all when his head is at risk every time you do is very, very terrifying. We would have been totally helpless, but we got in the car, set off for the airport, and we made it to Spain. From the minute we arrived at the resort, I realised just exactly why we were meant to be here. Every single person we met at this resort, and I absolutely mean this from the bottom of my heart, made us feel like we were a family that was wanted, cared for and cherished. You made a pathway for Felix's chair so we could watch the sunset over the mountain at El Rancho, which sadly is no longer there. You joked with us, welcomed us every single day with such kindness, warmth, care and love. There wasn't a single person here that made us feel like we were anything other than a normal family. And if I could ever show you how much that meant to me and my 2 children, I would do that in a heartbeat. Which is why I wanted to show up for you today to say thank you. Even if you haven't met me and you don't know me, you are special to be part of this environment. It is so special and rare in a world where technologies have taken over. Human kindness and human contact means so much to a family like mine, as I'm sure it does to many the world over. Please, whatever you do in your lives, just remember that the love and kindness you showed my children and the families that came before and after us will never be forgotten.
We are delighted to have a number of our fellow hoteliers here today, and hopefully many more who will be watching the recording of this event, and thank you for your valuable time. We are not asking you to join or commit to anything. We are simply showing you what we have achieved in the hope that you might wish to follow us, but of course in your own way. We kindly ask that you visit kindholidays.com, and here we have created a step-by-step guide on how you can set up your own program. There are also a number of links on the website to various charities that will be so grateful for any accommodation space you could give them in your hotels. We are not a charity, but rather an example of what you can do by opening your hearts and your doors to the most challenged of families around the world. If you're not involved in the hotel industry, you too can help by forwarding the video and the link to kindholidays.com to the members and managers of your favourite hotels. Thank you.
Está diciendo que desde el momento en el que le hicieron, que le pasaron el diagnóstico de Phoenix, por supuesto que toda su vida cambió y que tuvo que reconsiderar muchas cosas.
We didn't practice that bit. I'm scared to say anything now in case I waffle. It means the absolute wealth. My surviving son and I have got this memory for the rest of our lives with his brother. We wouldn't have had that. We wouldn't have had the opportunity to do that. We wouldn't have been able to do that, and we wouldn't have enjoyed it and felt so normal. We really felt normal when we came here, and all of you
para contestar a vuestras preguntas.